Great to have you with us. Now, police in Ifijase in the Ashanti region have launched a search for two armed men who stabbed to death a final year business student of the Ifijase Senior High School. 18-year-old Derek Ajay died a few hours after being rushed to the Ifijase Government Hospital's emergency unit after two armed men stabbed him in the neck on Wednesday evening. Police say the deceased, in the company of a friend, had scaled the school's fence wall to watch a football match outside campus when the attack occurred. His friend, Douglas, of being aged 17, has since given statements to the police. Superintendent Asari Bediako is the Ifijase District Commander. He told my colleague Ohiming Douglas left the deceased in a pool of blood and proceeded to town to watch the football match without raising alarm.
Yesterday around 7:30 p.m. we received a complaint at the charge office that a student by name Ajay, Derek Ajay, has been stabbed, and he's aged 18 years according to them. Then the story is that Derek and the mate, they are both business students and they are in the final year. The mate by name Obin Douglas, he's about 17 years. After close of school, they scaled the wall to go out to watch a football match. That was around 6:30 p.m. Once going, they were attacked by two men. The two demanded for their mobile phones and cash. Obin had just 2 CDs on him. They took the 2 CDs, but the deceased, Derek, had a mobile phone and money, but he refused to give the money and the mobile phone out. So he struggled. They attacked him and he struggled with them. And whilst resisting, one of them brought out an implement and stabbed him. Douglas, sensing danger, bolted. But instead of going back to the school, he rather went to town and watched the football match. Yes. Then the deceased, he was not dead. He didn't die on the spot. So he scaled back to the school compound, but couldn't walk to the dormitory. And he fell behind one of the boys' dormitories. So one of the students by name Nanaya was going to take his bath. When he found him, he raised an alarm, and most students came, assisted him, and they took him to the housemaster. Then the housemaster also took him to the hospital, but he was pronounced dead at the emergency ward. That's it. So moving to, we are trying our best. He says he can identify the assailants, so we're trying our best to get them arrested. So far, I haven't been able to arrest anybody.
I think picked information or words, maybe from police service, you call it statement. Douglas.
Yeah, we have, and this is what I've given you the gist of what he told us. Yes.
Did he tell police why he decided not to inform school authorities about this attack?
Yes, he said he was afraid. He said he was afraid. That is why, and as to why.
Still watching Joy News today. Let's stay with that earlier story of the stabbing of an SHS student, and Ohiming has joined us on the line. He has more on this story. Ohiming, what more have we been gathering?
Thank you, Daniel. The incident happened last night at 7:30 p.m. When the deceased, identified as 18-year-old Derek Ajay, former student, killed the school's fence wall in the company of a friend, also known, identified as Douglas, age 17, to watch a football match outside the school campus. Immediately they killed the wall. According to police, there's a palm plantation, and that's where two men approached them and demanded that they hand over including money to them. The Douglas gentleman handed 2 Ghana cedis on him, but we are told that the deceased had money and mobile phone on him, but he declined to speak to the orders of the men, and that's actually infuriated them. One of them pulled a sharp implement and stabbed him in the neck around the collarbone, according to police. So he bled. Unfortunately, Douglas left him to the community of the Township to watch the match. The visitors at that time managed to create a fence for fell into the compound when a student found him in a pool of blood and raised alarm, informing the school's senior house master. So that is when he was taken, rushed to the Fidasi County Hospital. It was admitted at intensive care. He died 2 minutes on arrival. This is something I've seen the school authorities in the meeting with police.
Right, Ohiming, it's very difficult to hear you now. If you can reposition yourself, but we also want to know if you have been to the school and what you've gathered from there.
Yes, Daniela, I have been to the school. As of now, classes are in session as normal, as usual, and then the school teachers are also teaching the students. It's difficult to speak to students who are already in class. But the school's watchman tells me the headmaster is not on campus, and I believe we are told that the school authorities will be meeting the parents of the diseased students, Derek, again.
Thank you very much, Ohiming Teria, for that report. Away from that story, an Accra High Court has put on hold its proceedings in a case filed by shareholder of now defunct Unibank Ghana Limited, Dr. Kwabena Dufo, seeking to set aside the collapse of his bank by the Bank of Ghana. This follows a request by lawyers of the Bank of Ghana asking for the halt, as they have made an application to the Chief Justice for the case to be moved to another division of the High Court. Dr. Dufo is challenging the Bank of Ghana's revocation of Unibank's license, asking for an order that the bank gives him back his bank, according to the statement of claim, that is. Now, Frank Davis, who leads the BOG's legal team, told court it was their firm belief that the nature of the case required that it must not be heard, by the commercial division of the High Court and not the general jurisdiction. He said they had formally written to the Chief Justice on the matter, and he added the matter before the court wasn't an urgent one and should therefore be halted. The lead counsel for Dr. Dufo, Chachuchi Kata, urged the court to ignore Mr. Davis' request. He maintained no formal application had been filed or granted by any court, barring the judge from hearing the case. He also rejected the assertion by Mr. Davis that the case is not urgent. He argued that they believe the Consolidated Bank had been granted a license illegally, and each day of its existence perpetuates an illegality which the court must remedy immediately. Justice Daniel Mensah, after hearing counsel, said the case will be put on hold till the Chief Justice settles the matter. He adjourned the case to October 17, 2018. Of course, stay with us on the Joy News channel. We will be bringing you the details of that and all the analysis and the fallout as well. Let's stay in the courts, because a circuit court in Koforidua in the eastern region has granted bail to 4 illegal miners arrested in the Etiwa Forest Reserve. The 4 suspects are among 8 persons who were rounded up 2 weeks ago by guards of the Forestry Department in Chebi. The court, presided over by Her Honor Mercy Adekote, granted each of them 120,000 Ghana cedis bail with 2 sureties. Correspondent Kofisia was in court and has come through with this report.
The suspects, Emmanuel Mensah, Rashid Alassan, Zule Ali, and Emmanuel Osu, were rounded up by guards of the Forestry Service Department in Chebi. The forest guards, as part of efforts to clamp down on the destruction of forest reserves, had already apprehended Kwaku Ampabin, Kwabena Ampao, Evans Ahenkra, and Ifabwatin for engaging in illegal mining. They were caught mining gold in the heart of the forest reserve between Akwadum and Potrasi within the enclaves of River Pang and Ominatri. The illegal miners cumulatively destroyed 15 hectares of the forest reserve. The 2 rivers polluted by the illegal miners flow into River Denzu, which provides water for about 5 million Ghanaians for both domestic and agricultural uses. The 4, who were charged with conspiracy to commit crime, pleaded not guilty, whilst their lawyer prayed the court to grant them bail. Jones Ajay Kumi is the Chebi range manager of the Forestry Services Department.
They are those who were caught illegally mining in the Atiwa Forest Reserve.
a week ago.
And how many?
We arrested a total of 8. It was within a 2-week span, and 4 of them were sent to court today, who have been granted bail. The other 4, we are coming to court on the 27th of September. That is this coming Thursday.
Okay.
Illegal mining in Atiwa Forest Reserve has been very rampant of late. When the ban on galamsey mining was put in place by the government, they thought they could hide somewhere because of the mountainous nature of Atiwa Forest Reserve, hide in the heart of the reserve to carry out these nefarious activities.
The suspects would reappear in court on October 24, while remaining 4 will be put before court on September 27. Kofi Sian, Joy News, Koforidua.
Now, 3 years after Joy News' documentary, Jungle Poor highlighted widespread poverty in the Volta regional town of Nyitavuta, residents continue to enjoy the benefits of the goodies that followed. They have water and a source of light now. Joseph Opoko Gapo went back to the community to see what had changed.
In 2015, Nyitavuta was featured in a Joy News documentary, Jungle Poor, as a deprived community where basic amenities, including pipe-borne water, light and sanitary facilities were missing.
It was mixed with some dry leaves, then the cow drops and others. It was not good for our health.
Philanthropists and NGOs responded positively, as Member of Parliament Peter Nochu explains.
Based on your documentary, philanthropists came to their aid. That's one, Dr. Jordan, by providing this water and then a public toilet for them. And as a result of your documentary, to get fund is also putting up some projects. Teachers bungalow, and then 3-unit classroom block, all ongoing.
The women in the community say the borehole has served them well ever since.
We were so happy about it. When it is dry season, we don't have much problem with water. The school children, too, it is helping them a lot. When they wake up, they come here, quickly they fetch water and they get back. Then they go to school on time.
U.S. electrical engineer Professor Tode Kumbabach, upon seeing the story, provided the community with solar lanterns and solar panels. Assembly member Cephas Beto says it changed the lives of the people.
Let me use this opportunity to congratulate Joy News. That was last 2 years when they came here through their documentary which named Jungle Poor. Through that documentary, we got a lot of NGOs, and then they brought us this solar panel. And through this solar panel, it helped this community a lot. At the past, before they would charge their phones, they would go to either Agomo or there is a community behind us which names Kure. But as at now, they are charging their phones here, and they've got some light too. Oh, it helped our students a lot. They are using it for learning.
The chief of the community says they are grateful.
The
community is, however, appealing for the completion of road network and extension of electricity, as well as a health post.
Our road is not good. Before they get to the hospital, it's not easy. So we are appealing to...
Development is gradually getting to Nyitavuta, but a lot more needs to be done to lift it above the poverty line. For Joy News, Joseph Opoko, Nyitavuta.
Some encouraging news there. Now, GIBA executives, that's the Ghana Independence Broadcasters Association, have been meeting with Parliament Communications Committee over the digital terrestrial television DTT migration, and this meeting has been disrupted following exchanges between some members of the committee. Member of Parliament for Kumbungu Ras Mubarak, who is a member, tells Joy News it was an embarrassing spectacle. Kennedy Japan, chairman of the committee, and Sam George, a member for Ningo Pram, almost traded blows this morning on the floor of the House. Parliamentary correspondent Joseph Opoku Gakpo joins us with more. Joseph, what is happening now?
So the committee is actually meeting on the 10th floor in one of the conferences room, one of the conference rooms in the Job 600 building on the 10th floor. And that's where the said exchanges was said to have happened. From what we are told, in the course of the meeting, which is chaired by the Assistant Central MP candidate, because he's the chairman of the Communications Committee, he uttered some words which MP for Ningo Pram, Samuel George, said he found insulting and demanded that he withdraws those words and apologizes. But then the chairman refused to withdraw the said words that he used and apologize. And it resulted in exchanges we gather. And at a point in time, some members of the committee had to restrain the two of them from further getting any closer and further continuing the exchanges. And it led to the suspension of the meeting for something in the region of 30 minutes we gather. In fact, outside the committee room where the meeting has been happening, I spotted some of the members of parliament who had actually walked out, including Ras Mubarak, as we spoke to him, and he indicated that the meeting had been disrupted to the extent that they weren't going to be able to continue. But again, from what we gather, after the about 30-minute suspension, tempers have been cooled, and the committee has since resumed the sitting as they hear from Gibo officials on the specific concerns they have with the BTC program.
But what has come out of that meeting? Do we know what is going on there?
So there is a petition that Giba had actually sent to the committee asking that they intervene over what they think are unfair practices with the role that StarTimes is playing in the digital terrestrial space. And so the committee had invited them, demanding some additional information and specifics on what kind of intervention they would want them to actually make as far as the bill is concerned, particularly in relation to the communications ministry. So mainly that's what they've been doing, going over the specific details of the petition they brought in which Giba has been demanding that they are treated fairly by government and that StarTimes be not allowed to take over the digital terrestrial space. So the committee members are quizzing them and are demanding specifics on what exactly they want.
Thank you, Joseph Opoku Gakpo. He's our parliamentary correspondent, briefing us on the latest in Parliament. Now, still to come, Ghana was thrown into chaos 36 years ago when 3 Supreme Court judges and a retired army officer were picked up and killed in the dead of the night. Justices Kojo Ejejapon, Pokusa Akode, and Mrs. Cecilia Kranting Ado, and retired major in the Ghana Armed Forces were shot and killed during a curfew imposed by the AFRC.
The trial of the coup plotters was very revealing.
People were tortured, and how can you try our generals and top brass within minutes and then say they are guilty, sentenced to death?
Killed the judges. A Joy News special assignment on crimes that shook the nation. Tuesday, 2nd October 2018 on Joy News TV, Joy FM, at Dom TV, at Dom FM, and online at majoyonline.com and multitvworld.com. Who killed the judges?
For all you need to know about this documentary, stay with us after this break. So watching Joy News today. Now, the Joy News Special Assignments Desk is set to release a series of documentaries on crimes that shook the nation. The first part of the documentary film titled Who Killed the Judges is set to be released on the 2nd of October. But why this subject? Joining me in the studio for some explanation is the producer, Raymond Akwa. Raymond, welcome.
Thank you.
Now, first of all, what should we expect in this documentary?
So this is perhaps the most comprehensive, with specific detail, important research from almost 2 years of what appears to be a very thorny, consistently very, very serious, and also has been deemed as very controversial matter. So what you get is getting to know how what happened, when it happened, which people were the lead people in all of this, how it panned out nicely, and how our attempts over the years, specifically has been done, what has been done over the years to try and bring some finality to this issue.
And we still don't know who killed the judges.
You need to necessarily watch this. After watching that, I'm so convinced you come out with some form of conclusion one way or the other from this documentary.
But why this subject, Raymond?
Now, I'm sure you have watched the history of the Holocaust. I'm sure to some extent you've also talked about the Rwandan genocide. The question is, what purpose does it serve? And in so many ways, many of us have also spent quality time watching Sarafina, and that's our best account of what happened in the South African apartheid situation. The purpose it serves is that so we are not ignorant of the past and perhaps one of the most important episodes in our history. So we do not wait for some other external entity to come and rehash it, perhaps distort it, and put it back to us in this country, and we complain about it. You need to inform that population. And do you know why? It happened 36 years ago, the abduction and the killing of the judges. That 36-year period, the chunk of this population were either not born, and
we're too young,
or were too young to have any proper appreciation of what really happened. So their history is not properly informed. The understanding of what has happened is also not properly informed. Distortion. Having no proper regard of what has happened in times past, you are more likely to repeat it if you don't know about it. And there's been examples even in recent times about how this has played out in our current situation.
Yeah.
So you need to inform your population properly, and that's the job of regionalists in this country. We need to be able to put together important stories of our history so that people don't only learn from it, people are also emboldened and educated enough to know about their past so they can move forward in a more proper way.
Okay, and I realized that in gathering information, you spoke with some family members of these deceased persons. How was that process?
You would have, and these are, of course, I mean, they still have some emotional attachment. Some of them are very reflective of what has happened. They give you accounts, and these are the people whose accounts are actually reported in there. Beyond the families, beyond the individuals who seem to have been very active at that time, we also give you the true account of those who are like to have perpetrated the acts, and also those who have agreed active participation, and those who led the investigation at various levels at different times of the important episode in this case.
Thank you very much, Raymond Akwa. I can't wait to watch that documentary. It airs on the 2nd of October, that is Tuesday, here on the Joy News channel.
8:30 p.m.
8:30 p.m. and you get to know who killed the judges. Anyway, let's move from the subjects. Now, sausage, corned beef, and other processed meat products have been found to contain a preservative residue in volumes above World Health Organization recommended levels. Study by Food Science and Technology Department of the Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology, KNUST, establishes cancer-causing nitrates in high quantities. On Tech Thursday, Love FM's Kwesi Debra speaks with lead researcher Dr. Jacob Agbe-Nohevi.
Salts in the form of sodium and potassium nitrite are used in meat products as preservative, antioxidant, and color fixative. High levels, however, can pose risk to human health due to formation of substances known as nitroso compounds. Dr. Jacob Agbe-Nohevi.
Butchers and those working at the abattoirs, sometimes they add nitrite to it, knowing very well one to as a curing agent or to preserve it, also for the color, which is attractive to consumers.
For the study, 300 questionnaires were given to all categories of ages in Ayawaso West Sub-Metro in the Greater Accra region to find out on a 24-hour food frequency. 50 samples of different types and brands of processed meat products were randomly selected and analyzed for nitrite residues.
We did for the processed meat, canned also among, and also we also look at different brands imported and those locally produced. We also look at even effects of processing on them. Yeah.
The researchers found average 139.85 milligrams per kilogram of nitrite in samples, above 125 milligram per kilogram recommended by the WHO.
Chicken sausage, pork sausage, corned beef, beef sausage, bacon, among some of the various meat products. On the average, you see most of them have had higher levels. It was bacon which was slightly lower, but the rest.
The researchers again found the average daily consumption to be 114.89 milligrams per day, which also exceeds recommended intake.
Point is, the producer should know how much to add so that in the end the residual level will not pose a risk. Because the risk is even cutting across the population from children to adults, between somewhere 0 to 0.7 milligram per body weight. You see that the population is really at risk. But if producers add the right amount and then everything well monitored, this risk will not be an issue.
Reporting for Joy News, Kwesi Deborah.
It's now time for Business with Sandra Esinam Afenu. Stay with us.